So update on my flatbed project that I have been working on. I have all my toolboxes are done, the frames and the metal are, it's not completely done, I still gotta weld it out, but not really gonna show that because, welding sheet metal is kind of lame, doesn't really look that cool. The old stack attack with the MIG welder, kind of lame. Doesn't really look cool. I'm gonna end up grinding most of it off anyways. It's not like welding a nice bead on something thick. Pretty lame. But anyways, I have something else that I've been trying to wrap my head around. I have something unique that I want to do with this flatbed. And I haven't really seen anybody else do it the way that I'm going to do it. The only thing I was able to find when I came up with this idea was like a blurry video from like 2010 of a company that makes them, but they do it a little differently. So I wanted to do something custom, and hopefully I can try to explain it, and hopefully it works out. I've been doing some, I guess, testing. So I made a little visual aid to try and explain it. So hopefully you can grasp what I'm trying to accomplish here. Okay, so if anybody has ever seen like a log arch on a trailer, I want to do sort of the same concept with this truck bed for loading heavy things. And I have a couple other ideas of things that I want to make for the bed that will be removable. And this system will help me load and unload because I don't have a forklift or anything, So what I want to accomplish is sort of like a log arch. I'm going to be making rails that go across the flatbed that will connect to the headache rack. And it'll have pivot points back here, and the whole headache rack is going to come up, and it'll be at like a 90-degree angle, and the headache rack will be like this, and I'll have a winch attached to the headache rack so I can winch stuff up and then move it over and drop it down onto the bed. And I've been kind of just trying to wrap my head around how I'm going to do this. I sort of created like a visual aid out of scrap wood here to try to help me wrap my head around it, and also I guess it will work to help explain. So picture this as the side rails on the bed, and there will be a hydraulic ram that will lift this up, right? So it'll be like 90 degrees, and it'll have a winch on the end, and I can lift stuff up. Originally, I wanted to mount the hydraulic ram, so this will represent like the plate on the top of the bed, and I wanted to hide the hydraulic ram underneath in this back toolbox. Originally, my idea was to have it come up through the plate and push on the rail to get it to lift, but there's a flaw with that plan. There'll be a hole in the plate, it'll go into the toolbox, water's going to sit in there, it's going to rust it out. So it took me a while. I was scratching my head, and I was out on my little excavator working it, and I was looking at the you have the boom and the stick. Well, the way the ram attaches off the boom to the stick, the pivot points aren't it's not a straight push and pull. It has like this will be where the boom and the stick meet, and the hydraulic ram attaches over here. So instead of doing a push with the hydraulic ram, what I'm going to do is when I mount it, it'll be completely extended, and it'll mount here, and when I hit the button, it'll pull, right? If that makes sense. So the hydraulic ram is going to pull this. That way, the hydraulic ram will come out the back, and there won't be a hole on the bed letting water get down into that toolbox, if that makes sense. So still have to figure out how I'm going to mount it and where I'm going to mount it. I got this little hydraulic ram. I don't know if I'm gonna have to do just one. The specs on this ram say it's rated for like 3,500 PSI, 5,300 pounds. It should be plenty enough to just lift this thing up. So what I'm gonna do, this ram is going to be mounted, probably have to build them out here, and it'll come out like right here, and there'll be like a cantilever attached to the rails. So hopefully all this makes sense. I'm super stoked to see how it's going to work. Alright, so here's where I'm at with mounting my hydraulic cylinder. I made this mount out of some 1/4 inch plate that I had, and this is gonna be mounted right up here, and I'm gonna have to cut a hole in this sheet metal, and I think I might have to notch this because when the hydraulic ram pulls in, it might go up and down a little bit. Try to give it some clearance. But yeah, looking good. Alright, so here's where I'm currently at with my headache rack lift system. Haven't really thought of a cool name, but I guess that works for now. I got some pieces cut out, and I sort of got it mocked up here to try and do a trial run, see if there will be any issues. I think this is too cool of an idea to give up on. I have ran into a couple issues, but I think I can figure them out. So I got the side rail sort of mocked up. I rounded it in the back because when I just had it square, it was hitting the plate, so I had to round that. I sleeved it so it's plenty strong enough. I made a mount for the hydraulic ram out of some 1/4 inch plate so it can mount right here, and I had it tacked in place, and I fully extended the ram so I could figure out where my pivot point needs to be for, I guess you would call this like a cantilever arm. I'm not an engineer, so I guess that makes sense, right? So I got the pivot points figured out. I'm running into a few issues. The first issue is my cantilever arm is now hitting this tube on the back of the bed. I can't make the cantilever arm any longer because that's fully extended. So I'm gonna have to work within these parameters, and I think I can get it to work. I'm just gonna have to notch the tube back here, which I was trying to avoid because all of the weight of the entire system is going to be on this back tube here. There will be a big plate that will sort of distribute the load, so I think it's going to be fine. I'll just have to brace it up real good. The other issue is I think I'm going to have to double it. At first I was going to try to do it with just one hydraulic ram on this side, but even me just trying to lift this up like this, it's heavy already. And if you know anything about leverage, the closer you are to a pivot point, the harder it is to move stuff. That's why you use like a big breaker bar. A short little ratchet doesn't have as much leverage as a long breaker bar. So I'm definitely going to have to do a second hydraulic cylinder to be able to lift the whole system up. I think everything is going to work. This just came in the mail today, a little GoPro type camera. So I'm going to be recording some action shots. Hopefully, I haven't tried it yet, so I don't ruin the camera. I wanted to take this old auto darkening lens from my old mask and try to get some cool welding shots. So hopefully I can do that. I'm still learning on what I need to record. Kind of just get in the groove and I start busting things out and I'm like, oh yeah, I should have explained what I'm doing. So I'm gonna keep trying to figure out the whole filming thing and this thing, and then yeah, I think this is gonna be so cool. my current situation. I got this side all buttoned up. You know, everything is still just tacked in place. I need to order a hydraulic pump so I can test this before I finalize anything. You see I notched this real nice, capped it off. I got the mount back in. This is where the hydraulic, I'll just show you on the other side. So I got everything mirrored, you know, I got everything duplicated. So you can see where the ram is going to mount, and you know, that way doesn't really take up too much room in the toolbox. Definitely still usable. Still have to notch it here because when this comes in, it's most likely going to come up and it'll pivot up, and I don't want it hitting this. I got these side rails cut. Still got to weld them. I definitely am digging the way this looks. I left just a little 1/4 inch gap from the edge. Adds a little bit of a dimension to it. Still have to cut, you know, this straight, and then I'll cut a piece to go in between them, and then I'll start building my headache rack off of that. I would like to test everything first before I start on the headache rack, because this is all just in theory still, so hopefully it works. I think it will. Figured I'd give my ear orifices a break from listening to music with my headphones in. Kind of show you what I got going on. Just finished up the base for my headache rack system. Looking pretty good. Added these little gussets. You know, put some dimple dies in it. It'll also act as like a tie down for ratchet straps. Because that's one thing that bothers me about pickup trucks. They don't have enough spots to tie shit down. Which also, I'm surprised my little dimple die was able to do this, because this is 1/8 inch. Added some hooks. It was just going to be this one, but then it looked weird with just one and this long rail, so I added that one, because this was just like a butt joint welded together, and I wanted to add a little gusset. You know, it's just a piece of angle iron. But damn, yeah. So I got ADHD brain, so I'm jumping from project to project. Right now I'm trying to add another notch for the hydraulic ram, and no one ever taught me this, but this is a neat little trick. I definitely didn't come up with it though. You can, you know, just weld a piece of scrap, and then that way you can use like half the hole saw, which, hold on to her because it's not easy. Definitely a wrist breaking activity there. I got these phallus shaped pieces all cut up. This is the lever that the hydraulic ram is going to pull, which will pull the whole headache rack system up. I did cut the first one out of this 1/2 inch. It ended up being too thick of a phallus shape. Never happened to me before, but it was too thick, because when I had it, you know, mocked up right there, it was pushing the head of the bolt too far over, which I would have had to cut basically all of this. And this is a, you know, piece of angle iron, which, you know, gives rigidity to the bed instead of just sheet metal. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm going out of town in the next couple days for work, so I'm really trying to bust this out, and I want to try to test it before I leave. So hopefully I can get it all done. Been working hard. So my hydraulic pump showed up. It is a double acting one, so it will have power up and power down. I just finished up this mount. Looks really fancy. Spent probably too much time on it for something that nobody will ever see, but that's kind of the whole theme of this bed, is I want it to just look like a normal flatbed. hit a button and then some voodoo magic happens and then this lifts up. And I'm also, originally I was going to attach the winch directly to the headache rack system, but I think what I'm going to do is put it underneath the plate right here and just have the fair lead on the plate of the bed. That way it's hidden, because I want this to be very aesthetically pleasing, but I want it to be functional. So yeah, I just finished up this mount. Might be a little overkill, you know. It holds my weight, no problem. So it's more than enough for this little pump. I wanted to get this installed so I can measure for hydraulic lines. I'm gonna have to get some custom made, most likely, because this has SAE 6, whatever that means, and the Rams have SAE 4. So I'm gonna have to get some custom made or some sort of adapter figured out. I'm gonna have to tee them together, that way it sends pressure out to both Rams at the same time. But yeah, looking good. So here's something to be mindful of with fabricating stuff, and I did expect this. It's something that happens pretty much anytime you do something like this. So when I welded this gusset / hook on, you know, note I didn't weld it on this side. It's only welded on this side. And you know, I had the old Miller turned up to Thor, God of Thunder, you know, get that nice and hot, because you want some penetration. But anytime you weld something on one side and not the other, it's going to suck it in. So if you notice, this rail pulled in that way. There's a couple different things you can do to remedy that. One of which is you could take a grinder or something and put a slice in it on this side, and then you could weld this side, and that weld will shrink and it'll pull it back. But then you got to cut it, weld it, grind it back off, and it might not pull it over as much as you want anyways. So I'm going to show you a different way to do it. Unfortunately, you got to have a set of torches. And torches are actually pretty expensive. Never would have guessed, you know. It's kind of like an old man tool. You'd think they'd be like cheap, but no, they're pretty expensive. Anyways, you take the torch and you heat it up on the opposite side, which doesn't make sense to me. You would think like you'd want to heat it up on this side, stretch it out. But for whatever reason, it works a lot better if you heat up the opposite side, get it nice and hot, almost to the point where it's melting, and then you just let go. And then when it cools off, it'll shrink and pull it this way. I don't understand the science behind it, but it does work. So I do have it clamped here, and if I do it and it doesn't pull it over enough, I'm going to use another clamp and try to pull it. Which is fine also, because when I put the second mount for the hinge back here, it'll also keep it in line and kind of naturally pull it out anyways. But this is where it's warped. If I just pull it out here, it's going to distort somewhere else on the metal. You want to fix it in the affected area, if that makes sense. Also, got my pump mounted up, looking sweet. It'll all be hidden. Nobody will ever see it. Pretty rad. Alright, well, I did this once before, as you could tell from the soot. Didn't quite move it as much as I would like, so I'm going to do it again. Alright. Flame on. Heat it up. Trust the process, as these young kids are saying nowadays. Get it nice and hot, you know, chase that bag. Whatever nonsense these kids are saying. Something very primitive about using torches. Maybe it's just me or whatever, but fire's pretty cool. Just the science behind it. Get it nice and hot. Get all those atoms just moving at high speed, you know? Can be very destructive, or you can build cool things with it. It's like a lot of things in life. It's all how you use it. Alright, you can see it's getting nice and hot. Nice and hot. Try to do it in a little bit bigger of an area this time. I don't know if you'd be able to see that on video, but when you heat it up, like I just did, it actually warped the opposite direction. So it's crazy. Once you cool it off, it sucks it right back in. Alright, let's see what happens. I borrowed my pet cockatoo's disciplinary action. She doesn't like this. You might even be able to just see this on camera. I can see it right now. It's moving. Just squirt a little bit of H2O on it. Bop, bop, bop. There it goes. It's moving. Pretty cool. I feel like Bill Nye the Science Guy when I'm doing stuff like this. Well, there you have it. You can see it. After it cooled off, it went right back to where I wanted it to. No movie magic, just science. This side is pretty bad. I don't know if just heating it up and letting it cool off is going to suck it back in as far as I need it to. So I might have to end up slicing it and welding it. Might have to do a little combination of both. Yikes. But we'll see. I'll just try to heat it up first, see what happens. Then after that, get my other hinge mounts welded back on, put the bolts in. I'm basically ready to test, which I'm super excited about. Oh, that's not true. I still have to notch these tubes. I got to notch it for my lever arms to clear. But yeah, after I do that, I will test it. Well, it ain't happening this week, folks. Didn't quite get it done. But at least I got it to the point where you have an idea of what I'm trying to attempt here. I'm gonna have to redo some things and I don't have enough time to do it. I gotta leave in like an hour to go out of town for work and I won't be back until the weekend. So I got it to the point where at least you can kind of get the idea of what I was trying to accomplish. See, the whole thing is supposed to go up like that. Well, I knew I wasn't going to get it done because I got to get hydraulic lines made, but I wanted it to be to the point where if I got lines it would work, but I ran into a couple little issues here. I'll show you. So I had, you know, these lever arms made. You know, you can see I had them tacked in place, and I went to pick it up, and it hits right where this notch is, and I don't want to notch it any more than that because I don't want to, you know, sacrifice the strength of, you know, where this mounts. I'm still going to brace it up, but I still don't want to cut it any more than that. So what I'm going to have to do is cut some more of these lever arms I had to do a different shape. You can see I kind of, this is what it's gonna be like, you know, more room to clear this tube, which, oh yeah, I came up with this neat little trick. Never seen it anywhere, so feel free to use this one. If you want to make an arch, you want to make a tighter arch, you just tighten it up with just one of these cheap Harbor Freight rulers. Works pretty slick, you know. I'm gonna have to cut 2 of these, and I won't have time to cut 2 of these, drill the holes, make them perfectly symmetrical, tack them in place. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So stay tuned. Maybe I'll get it done next week. Well, weekend. I'm only be home on the weekends for the next foreseeable future, so it's gonna be pretty slow goings for a while. Stay tuned.